So I'm really looking forward to today's project. So I've got 3 really interesting pieces of wood to work with, and this may come as no surprise to some of you, but what I'm planning on doing is I'm planning on cutting them up into a few slices and then taking those slices over to my table and then moving them around and arranging them to see if I could come up with some sort of design that might look good hanging on the wall. Now, it isn't every day that I have really interesting pieces of wood like this to work with. So one of the reasons that I'm looking forward to doing the project is because I really have no idea how this art piece is going to look when it's finished. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and get started, and I guess we'll see how it goes. Okay, so I've got a lot of really nice wood to choose from. Now, typically when I go to build one of these rustic wall hanging art pieces, what I do is I look for one centerpiece and then I use other pieces to build some sort of framework around it. But in this case, I have so much great wood and I don't really see one piece that's the ideal centerpiece. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start moving this wood around and see if I can come up with something. Okay, so I moved the pieces around for a while, and with this many pieces, there's a lot of different options, and quite a few different options that I really liked as I was moving the pieces around. But, you know, there comes a point where I actually want to start building something, and I could easily move these pieces around for 2 more hours and look at a bunch of different choices. But I've actually got 3, and I really like the way that these 3 look together. So I'm gonna leave the center piece as a whole piece and cut the 2 pieces on the side and try to fit them together the best that I can. And then after that, I'm gonna start looking at some more pieces and try to start fitting them around these 3 pieces and see what I can come up with. Okay, so I've got the 3 pieces fit together. Now the next step is to look for more pieces to put around these pieces. So I really like the way that the 2 pieces on the side look together. So I really don't know if I'll be adding pieces to the side of it. More than likely I'll be adding pieces to the bottom and to the top. So, you know, it's just one of those things, I really don't know what I'm gonna do. It's just a matter of looking at all these different pieces, and for me, it's a bit like a jigsaw puzzle. I know there's a piece of art somewhere within all these pieces, and it's just my job to try to find it. So the basic layout's all done. So it's getting a little late in the day, so I'm gonna pack it up for now, but tomorrow I'll come out here and continue on with the project. Okay, so I just did some grinding and sanding on the pieces. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to install the backer boards. So I'm going to be using a piece of 1/4 inch plywood and a piece of 3/8 inch plywood. And on one piece, I'm going to have the grains going vertically, and the other piece, I'm going to have the grains going horizontally. And the reason that I'm going to be doing it that way, rather than use one piece of 5/8 inch plywood, is because by alternating the grains, it helps prevent the piece of art from twisting in the direction of the grains of the plywood. So if I just use one piece of 5/8, there's a very good chance that the piece of art could end up bending or twisting slightly in the direction of the plywood. And by using two different pieces, it just helps prevent that. Okay, so I just glued all the pieces in place, and I'm actually giving the glue a few minutes to tack up before I start putting the staples in. And the reason that I like to give the glue a few minutes to tack up is because when I go to put the staples in, I'm going to be sliding the piece over to the edge of the table and then stapling from underneath. Now, I've done it before where I just didn't let the glue tack up, and what happened is as I slid the piece, one of these pieces went out of position, and I put 3 or 4 staples in. Then I went up and looked at it, realized that I stapled it out of position. So I had to pull all the staples as the glue was drying and then reset the piece and then redo it. So to avoid that, I just like to give the glue a few minutes to tack up. So I'm going to be using these Senko 1/4 by 3/4 inch staples. So anyway, yeah, I'll just give it a couple more minutes and then start putting the staples in. So I always like to cut my second backer board in about 1/4 inch all the way around from the first backer board. And the reason that I do that is because I'm going to be grinding these backer boards back so that they're much less visible from the front. And by keeping the second backer board in from the first backer board about 1/4 inch, it makes the grinding go a whole lot faster. So when it comes to making a piece of art like this, it's a lot like putting together a puzzle. Once I had the wood cut up into some slices, and then I took those slices over to my table and laid them out and took a good look at them and started moving them around and arranging them, I realized there was a lot of different combinations and possibilities and different directions that I could go to create the piece of art. Now, if you had 100 different artists and they all had the exact same pieces of wood to work with, you would end up with 100 uniquely different end results. So when it comes to making a piece of art like this, there is no exact right and there is no exact wrong. Creating art like this is a very individual and personal experience for each artist. So one of the reasons that I make videos like this is to encourage you guys to go out there and make your own pieces of art. So if you have some wood laying around with some unique shapes or characteristics, go on out there and cut it up into a few slices. Then take those slices over to your table and lay them out and take a good look at them and start moving them around and arranging them to see what you can come up with. Now, I can't guarantee that you'll end up with a great end result, but the one thing I will say is that I bet somewhere along the line you're going to end up having some fun, and you may just end up coming up with something that you really like. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and good luck on your next woodworking project.